The unseen threat Earth had always been a peaceful place, full of unknown wonders and untouched mysteries. People went about their daily lives, oblivious to the fact that they were being watched by beings far more advanced than they could ever imagine. It was a normal day, nothing out of the ordinary. But something changed that evening. The sky, once clear and calm, began to shift. The stars, which were always so distant, now seemed closer than ever before. Something was coming down at the headquarters of Earth's Global Defense Council, GDC. A quiet hum filled the air. Dr. Emily Sykes, a brilliant scientist working on advanced communication systems, sat hunched over her desk. The flickering lights above her head cast shadows across her tired face. She'd been working tirelessly, hoping to crack the encryption on a series of strange signals that had been detected for weeks. But now, she was about to make a discovery that would change everything. Dr. Sykes had thought the signals were just random bursts from space, perhaps from distant stars or lost satellites. But tonight, the pattern was different. The signals weren't random anymore. They were too perfect, too intentional. She couldn't help but feel that someone or something was trying to communicate. She typed a few commands into her console, scanning through layers of encrypted data. A strange chill ran down her spine as her screen blinked, revealing a message of something that wasn't supposed to exist. The words were simple, yet terrifying. "We are watching. Prepare." The message appeared to be from an alien source, far beyond any human technology. Dr. Sykes' heart raced as she read the words again. "Prepare?" she whispered. "But for what?" She quickly transmitted the message to the Council's top military officials and waited, her pulse quickening. The message had been intercepted, and yet the implications were staggering. Were they under threat? And if so, who was this "we" that had been watching Earth? While Dr. Sykes worked, another event was unfolding far beyond the Earth. In the cold, empty void of space, far from any human radar, an enormous alien fleet had been silently drifting towards Earth. It was a fleet unlike any the human race had ever seen. Its ships were sleek and powerful, with technology far more advanced than anything the human race could comprehend. These beings were not just travelers from the stars, they were conquerors, and their mission was simple. They had come to claim Earth as their own. The aliens, known as the Vrika, had been monitoring humanity for centuries, ever since they had first detected the human signal, a faint radio transmission that had reached them from Earth long ago. They had watched as humans evolved, growing stronger and more technologically advanced. But they had also watched as humanity waged war on itself, struggled with internal conflict, and failed to unite in the face of adversity. They had decided that now was the time to act. Commander Zorath, leader of the Vrika fleet, stood in the control room of his flagship. His cold, calculating eyes gazed at the holographic projection of Earth. The planet seemed so fragile from this distance, yet it held such potential. He was a conqueror, and his people had been through countless wars. He understood that Earth's potential was unmatched, and that made it a perfect target for the Vrika. He ordered the fleet to prepare for the final phase of their mission. Earth would either surrender, or it would be destroyed. Back on Earth, Dr. Sykes paced nervously, the weight of her discovery hanging over her. She could feel that the message was just the beginning, that there was something far more dangerous looming. Her mind raced as she tried to piece together what she had learned. As she opened a new file on her screen, she noticed a new anomaly. In the data, a massive energy surge from deep space. It was coming from the direction of the alien fleet. The Earth's defenses were nowhere near strong enough to face this threat. She rushed to the Council's headquarters to present her findings. The room was already filled with military leaders, scientists, and political figures. They had gathered in response to the strange signal she had received. Dr. Sykes quickly laid out her findings, describing the message, the encrypted signals, and the mysterious energy surge. The room was silent, the air thick with tension. 1. Of the generals, a stern-faced man named General Hargrave spoke first. "We need to prepare for the worst. If what you're saying is true, we have no time to waste. The aliens have already made contact, and they are coming. We need to build up our defenses, and we need to do it now." But Dr. Sykes wasn't so sure. Her heart was heavy with the knowledge that no amount of defense could possibly stand up to an alien civilization this advanced. "It may be too late for that," she replied, her voice low. "They're already here, and they may not want to negotiate." The council members exchanged uneasy glances, realizing the gravity of the situation. But one thing was clear: Earth was not ready for this kind of war. They had no idea how to fight against beings who had been watching them for so long. The aliens had the power to obliterate entire cities, and the time to prepare was quickly running out. As Dr. Sykes left the meeting, the weight of her discovery hung heavy in her mind. She had done her part, but the real challenge was just beginning. Earth's fate was now in the hands of humanity, and their ability to stand up to an enemy they didn't understand. The question was no longer, what are they? It was, what will humanity do when the ultimate challenge arrives? The sky was still clear that morning when the first signs of the alien arrival began. No warning, no signs of their ships on radar, no distress signals, just a sudden, unexplained shift in the air. It was as if the Earth itself had paused for a moment, holding its breath in anticipation. Dr. Emily Sykes, along with the Global Defense Council, watched in disbelief as a massive disturbance appeared on every monitoring system. Satellites caught images of colossal dark shapes blotting out the stars. The peaceful skies of Earth had been shattered. Within hours, the first wave of alien ships entered Earth's orbit, their sleek metallic forms reflecting the light of the sun like dark mirrors. The ships weren't anything like what humans had imagined. They didn't resemble anything from science fiction films. There were no towering spaceships or intricate designs. These ships were efficient, minimalist, designed for one thing: to conquer. Each ship was surrounded by a pulsating energy field, a defensive mechanism that blocked any attempt to scan them. The aliens were clearly advanced beyond anything humanity had encountered, and Earth had no chance of defending itself. As the ships continued to descend toward Earth cities, a message was broadcasted to every frequency, every screen, every communication channel on the planet. It was a chilling sound, something not of Earth, a cold, mechanical voice, speaking in a language that no human had ever heard before. But strangely, it didn't matter. The message was immediately translated in real time on all communication devices. It was simple yet terrifying. "We are the Vrika. Your planet is now under our control. Prepare to surrender, or we will destroy you." The message was received across the world, and for a brief moment, humanity was stunned into silence. The aliens had come, not to explore, not to negotiate, but to claim Earth for themselves. Commander Zoreth, the leader of the Vrika, stood in the heart of his flagship, observing Earth below with a calculating eye. The humans seemed weak, primitive even, but they were resilient. He had underestimated them before, but now he understood the true nature of their spirit. Zoreth's orders were clear. Give them the choice: surrender or face extinction. But what he didn't know was that humans, though vastly outmatched, would never give up without a fight. As the alien ships descended further, the world's military forces scrambled to respond, but their efforts were futile. No human-made weapon could penetrate the energy shield surrounding the alien ships. Fighter jets, missiles, and bombs were all rendered useless, crashing harmlessly into the invisible wall that protected the Vrika. Earth's most advanced weapons had no effect. The message was clear: the aliens were leagues ahead of humanity in every way. In the midst of chaos, Dr. Sykes and the team at the Global Defense Council worked tirelessly to make sense of the alien technology that was now surrounding them. They had no idea how to fight back. They had no plan, no defense, no real understanding of what the aliens wanted or why they had chosen Earth. But they did know one thing. The clock was ticking. Dr. Sykes, always calm in the face of pressure, had already set her mind on a singular goal: survival. She knew the aliens were not going to negotiate. They didn't care about Earth's people or its history. To them, Earth was just another planet to add to their collection. And they would stop at nothing to claim it. The aliens had been watching for years, perhaps even centuries, as humanity developed. They had seen the wars, the unrest, the divisions. They had waited for the right moment to strike, and now that moment had come, the world had never been so vulnerable. Global leaders gathered in emergency meetings, but the uncertainty was palpable. What could humanity do in the face of such overwhelming force? The next few hours were filled with frantic decisions. Some leaders pushed for diplomacy, for some kind of peaceful solution. Others suggested preparing Earth's remaining defense systems for an all-out war. But no matter how hard they tried, there was no way to overcome the alien superiority. Commander Zorath, watching the chaos unfold on his ship's command center, couldn't help but smirk. The humans were struggling, just as he had anticipated. They were clever, but they were also fragile. He had seen it before civilizations like this. One so full of potential, yet so easily destroyed when faced with something stronger. He knew they would resist, but in the end, they would bow to the Vrika. It was inevitable, and so, as Earth cities braced for the worst, Dr. Sykes gathered a small team of scientists and military officials to discuss their next move. There had to be something, anything they could do to fight back. The fate of Earth depended on it. But the truth was, they had no idea what they were up against. As Dr. Sykes and her team worked tirelessly to find a solution, the first alien ships began to descend upon Earth's largest cities. Towering structures of metal and light, they touched down, sending tremors through the ground. The air was thick with tension. The aliens were here, and humanity's survival was at stake. The stakes had never been higher, and the real question remained: could humanity survive the Vrika, or would Earth fall under alien rule? Humans unite. Earth's defense systems were shattered. Its military forces left helpless in the face of an enemy so far beyond them that it seemed absurd to even try to fight back. Cities were now under alien control, their towering ships casting long shadows over every corner of the planet. Earth had been invaded, and humanity stood at the brink of extinction. Yet, in the darkest of moments, a spark of something incredible began to form: unity. The Global Defense Council, GDC, an organization meant to unite the world's military and scientific efforts, had been fractured. Before the alien arrival, countries were divided by political agendas and borders. But now, with Earth facing a common enemy, old rivalries began to dissolve, and humanity was forced to face a truth they had avoided for centuries. Survival would only be possible if they worked together. Dr. Emily Sykes, despite the overwhelming odds, was determined to find a solution. She had seen the terrifying alien ships up close, but it wasn't fear that gripped her now. It was something far more powerful: resolve. Her mind raced as she recalled her years of research, the countless hours spent studying theoretical physics, and the alien technology she had barely begun to understand. She wasn't about to let the Earth fall without a fight. Her first priority was to unite the brightest minds on the planet. With the help of the GDC, she reached out to the best scientists, engineers, and military leaders from around the globe, requesting their assistance. But there was one problem. Many governments were still reluctant to cooperate. Trust had been shattered for too long. The world wasn't just dealing with an alien threat. They were also grappling with their own divisions. In a moment of desperation, Dr. Sykes turned to the one thing that could bring people together: the truth. She addressed the world in a live broadcast, speaking directly to the people of Earth. Her voice, calm yet firm, cut through the chaos. We are facing the ultimate challenge. Our planet, our homes, our way of life are under attack. But we are not weak, we are not divided, we are humanity. And we have faced far worse than this before. This is not the end. It's only the beginning of our fight. Her words had a powerful effect. Across the globe, people listened. Governments that had once kept to themselves began to take action. Former enemies shared information, offered resources, and started working side by side. The world, though on the brink of destruction, was uniting in ways no one had ever thought possible. In a matter of days, the newly formed United Earth Coalition, UEC, was born. It was a vast network of nations working together for one singular goal: survival. The GDC, now restructured and operating under the UEC banner, began making bold moves. They would no longer operate as individual countries, but as a united force capable of challenging the VREK. Dr. Sykes found herself at the center of this global effort. With the help of military strategists, engineers, and artificial intelligence specialists, she spearheaded a new initiative. The first step was to figure out the aliens' weakness, and after analyzing their technology from the data Dr. Sykes had intercepted, there was hope, however faint. The VREK ships had a flaw in their energy field, something that humans could exploit, but they needed time. Time to develop a weapon capable of breaching the alien defenses. With the UEC's combined resources, the next step was to build something the world had never seen before, a weapon powerful enough to challenge the VREK. But even with all the knowledge humanity had, the timeline was short. The aliens were growing impatient, and their forces continued to press on, tightening their grip around Earth's most critical cities. Dr. Sykes and her team worked day and night, fighting not just the VREK but the ticking clock. Meanwhile, military forces began to regroup, creating resistance movements in the cities that had yet to be completely occupied by the aliens. Soldiers, scientists, and civilians all played their part in the fight for survival, each contributing in whatever way they could. Civilians who had once feared the alien invaders now took up arms, working alongside elite soldiers to sabotage alien installations and gather critical intelligence. The unity humanity was beginning to forge was no longer just about survival, it was about defiance. Humanity wasn't going to be conquered without making the aliens regret ever setting foot on Earth. But even as the world united, the VREK were watching. Commander Zorath, standing in the command center of his flagship, observed the growing resistance with a mixture of amusement and annoyance. He had expected resistance, of course. It was the way of all species fight to the bitter end. But what intrigued him was the unexpected strength of humanity's will. The VREK had never encountered a species quite like this before, so flawed, yet so determined. He knew that the coming battle would not be easy, and for the first time, he felt a flicker of something in his chest. Respect. Humanity had shown him that they would not bend. They would fight until the very last breath. And this, Zorath knew, would make their defeat even sweeter. As Dr. Sykes led her team through the final stages of developing the weapon, she had no illusions about the challenges ahead. Earth's resistance was growing, but the VREK were formidable. The weapon was still in its infancy, and the odds were stacked high against them. But for the first time, the balance was shifting. Humanity was no longer powerless. They had a chance, and that, in itself, was enough to give them hope. The first strike, the tension in the command center was palpable, the silence only broken by the hum of the emergency lights and the soft beeping of consoles. Earth had one chance, one moment to prove it could stand against the might of the VREK. After weeks of relentless planning and sleepless nights, the weapon humanity had been developing, an electromagnetic pulse, MP bomb capable of disabling the VREK's energy shields, was ready. Dr. Emily Sykes stood in front of the massive holographic display, her eyes scanning the layout of the alien fleet. The world's best pilots, engineers, and soldiers had come together in the final hours of preparation. Military jets, modified with the EMP devices, had been outfitted and were now ready for deployment. The countdown had begun. Humanity's first strike against Avrika was about to commence. The stakes were higher than ever before, and failure wasn't an option. The strategy was simple. Hit them fast, hit them hard. A fleet of fighter jets would swoop in, launching the AIM bombs at the heart of the alien fleet's energy shields, disabling their defenses just long enough for humanity's resistance forces to strike a decisive blow. The Avrika had been relentless in their assault, and now humanity's most formidable weapon, its ingenuity, would be tested. Dr. Sykes felt the weight of the moment pressing down on her. She had been the one to help design the EMP weapon, but the thought of actually deploying it against the alien invaders felt surreal. The Avrika had demonstrated their strength time and time again. They had proven their superiority, and yet here humanity was about to fight back with nothing more than their courage and resourcefulness. The first wave of fighter jets, sleek and powerful, tore through the sky, cutting through the atmosphere with remarkable speed. Their mission was dangerous. Alien ships hovered just outside Earth's orbit, prepared for anything. The Avrika had seen humanity's resistance, but they hadn't expected this kind of attack. As the jets neared the Avrika fleet, the fighters moved in formation, a single unit determined to make history. Commander Zorath watched from his command ship as the human jets approached, his cold eyes narrowing. He had anticipated their response. Humans, after all, were predictable in their desperation. But what they didn't realize was how quickly the Avrika could adapt. Zorath's fingers danced across the control panel, activating his fleet's countermeasures. At the flick of a switch, the Avrika ships emitted a high-frequency pulse, jamming the human jets' radar systems. The first wave of fighters, now blind to their surroundings, struggled to stay on course. Suddenly, a streak of light appeared in the sky. A massive alien ship, larger than anything Earth had ever seen, descended from the darkness of space. It was the Avrika's flagship, and it was targeting the incoming humans. Despite the overwhelming odds, the humans pressed forward. The MP bombs were their only hope, and they had no intention of retreating. Jet engines roared as the first wave of planes dove toward the alien fleet. But as they neared their target, the Avrika unleashed a massive defense grid. Laser beams fired from every angle, cutting through the air like deadly lightning. The MP jets were being obliterated one by one, but still, they continued their mission. Then, against all odds, the first EMP bomb was dropped. It fell like a meteor, streaking through space toward the heart of the alien fleet. The Avrika ships barely had time to react. A flash of blinding light illuminated the dark void of space, and for a moment, everything went silent. The MP bomb had hit its target. The alien fleet's energy shields flickered, dimming, and then shut down. The once invincible Avrika ships were suddenly vulnerable. A cheer erupted through the human command center as humanity's first strike succeeded. The energy shields, which had withstood every missile, laser, and bomb Earth had thrown at them, were down. Humanity had struck a blow. However, the victory was short-lived. Commander Zorath, though momentarily stunned, quickly regained control. His fingers moved swiftly across his control panel, and in an instant, his fleet's counterattacks were underway. A new wave of alien drones was launched to intercept the now exposed humans. Fighter jets, once part of humanity's only chance, were now at the mercy of the alien retaliation. "Fall back!" shouted General Hargrave from his command post. But it was too late. Humanity's jets, having achieved the impossible, were now engaged in a brutal dogfight with Avrika's superior forces. Their numbers dwindled, and their energy was quickly exhausted. The EMP bomb had done its job, but the price of this victory was becoming painfully clear. The Avrika were not done. They had only just begun to fight back. Dr. Sykes watched in horror as her screen flickered with updates. Human pilots were being shot down in waves. their ships scattering like fireflies in the night sky. Yet, despite the carnage, something remarkable was happening. The human forces weren't retreating. They weren't backing down. They had done the impossible, and now they would hold their ground. The EMP attack had given humanity a glimmer of hope. But with the alien retaliation underway, Earth's fighters faced their hardest challenge yet. They had only moments before. The next wave of destruction would come. The countdown to humanity's survival had begun, and no one could predict how it would end. The turning point, the battle raged on. A chaotic symphony of destruction as humanity's brave resistance clashed with the Vrika's unforgiving might. Earth's skies were filled with the roar of jet engines and the deafening sound of explosions. The first wave of fighters had delivered a heavy blow to the Vrika. But now, as more alien ships poured into Earth's atmosphere, the true cost of the fight became apparent. Humanity was losing ground. Dr. Emily Sykes stood at the center of the Global Defense Council's Emergency Operations Room, staring at the massive holographic map of the battlefield. Her mind raced, the weight of responsibility pushing down on her. Earth's forces had fought valiantly, but they were outmatched. Every calculated strike, every tactical retreat seemed futile as the Vrika adapted with terrifying speed. They had the numbers, the technology, and the ruthless resolve to annihilate Earth. Piece by piece, the EMP bomb had done its job, disabling the Vrika's energy shields for a brief moment. But now the alien fleet had adjusted its strategy. Commander Zoreth, ever the tactician, had launched a second wave of unrelenting drones that tore through humanity's defenses. Earth cities were in ruins, and the resistance forces, though persistent, were running out of resources. We need to find a way to fight back. We need more than just luck, Dr. Sykes muttered under her breath, her eyes fixed on the alien ships now hovering over New York City. The city she'd once visited as a child, the city that now seemed on the verge of crumbling under the weight of alien dominance. She was about to walk away from the screen, when a familiar voice broke through the tense atmosphere. Dr. Sykes, I think I found something, said Lieutenant Marcus Green, one of the few surviving military strategists who hadn't been overwhelmed by the alien onslaught. He had been working alongside Dr. Sykes for days, analyzing the alien technology, looking for any weaknesses they could exploit. What have you found? Dr. Sykes asked, turning toward him, her heart racing with the tiniest spark of hope. It's their energy source, Marcus replied, pointing at the flickering image of the Vrika mothership. It's the power that fuels their ships, their shields, everything. It's massive, and it's centralized at the core of their flagship. If we can disrupt it, we can bring their entire fleet down. Dr. Sykes stared at the screen, disbelief and excitement mixing in her chest. The Vrika fleet was centered around the mothership, which was protected by a fortress of technology and defense systems. Attacking it head-on would be suicide. But Marcus's words gave her an idea, a dangerous one. If the humans could disable the mothership's energy core, the entire fleet would collapse. But how could they get past the overwhelming defenses? What do you need to make it work? Dr. Sykes asked, her voice steady despite the chaos outside. Marcus hesitated, his eyes scanning the battlefield. We need a team to get close enough to plant a device near the energy core. Something that can send out a signal strong enough to disrupt their system, but we'll have to navigate through the fleet's most heavily guarded zones. Dr. Sykes felt her pulse quicken. This wasn't just another mission. This was a gamble, with Earth's survival hanging in the balance. There was no room for failure. As she considered the risks, a memory flashed in her mind, an old lesson from her childhood about the power of human will. She knew that it was humanity's resolve, their ability to adapt and fight against impossible odds, that had brought them this far. They couldn't let it go to waste. Then let's do it, she said firmly. We're not giving up. With a new sense of purpose, Dr. Sykes joined forces with Marcus to assemble a strike team, a group of elite soldiers, engineers, and scientists, all ready to risk their lives in the final attempt to cripple the Vrika's fleet. They were given the best technology available: modified stealth drones, EMP devices, and a specially designed satellite system that would help them breach the Vrika's defenses. But the real challenge wasn't just getting close enough to the mothership. It was the heart-stopping mission to deliver the device, navigate the Vrika's deadly countermeasures, and make sure it would trigger at the right moment. As they prepped the equipment and made final adjustments, the air in the command center was thick with anticipation. The rest of the world seemed to hold its breath as well. Earth's fate was now in the hands of a few brave men and women, willing to face the seemingly insurmountable power of the Vrika. At the same time, on the Vrika flagship, Commander Zorath watched the human resistance with growing frustration. Despite the overwhelming strength of his forces, the humans had managed to withstand him longer than he had expected. They were proving to be a persistent, unpredictable species. It was clear that Earth would not fall easily. But Zorath was not a leader who underestimated his enemies. He was calculating, ruthless, and ready to crush the last remnants of the human resistance. The tension between both sides was palpable, as each side prepared for what could be the final confrontation. Countdown had begun. The final stand. Earth had been on the edge of collapse for weeks, but as Dr. Emily Sykes and her team prepared for the final assault, something shifted within the resistance. They had endured impossible odds, suffered through loss and failure, yet still, they refused to surrender. The time had come. Humanity's survival rested in their hands. The mission was clear: infiltrate the Vrika mothership and deploy the device that would disrupt its energy core, crippling the alien fleet. The team assembled scientists, military personnel, engineers, each knowing that what they were about to do would likely be their last act. But there was no fear in their eyes, only determination. If they succeeded, they would deliver a blow so severe that it could change the course of history. If they failed, humanity's extinction would be sealed. Dr. Sykes stood before the final map of the alien fleet, tracing her fingers along the path they would take. The plan was audacious, using the stealth drones and a series of decoy explosions to distract the Vrika forces long enough to allow a small team to board the mothership. It was a narrow window, and they only had one shot. As the countdown began, Dr. Sykes couldn't help but feel a surge of emotion, fear, hope, and the weight of her responsibility. "We've come this far together. Let's make it count," she said, her voice steady but filled with unspoken resolve. The strike team was ready. The first wave of decoys was launched. Explosions rocked the alien defenses, sending drones scattering into the void. It was the perfect distraction. The stealth drones, cloaked in electromagnetic fields, slipped past the Vrika defenses unnoticed, guided by the faint signals from Earth's satellite system. Their mission was risky, but it had a chance of succeeding. As the team approached the mothership's colossal exterior, the sheer scale of the alien vessel became apparent. It was like nothing humanity had ever seen, a dark behemoth of sharp angles and cold metal, its surface gleaming with an eerie glow from within. The alien technology that powered the ship was incomprehensible, and the team's pulse quickened as they made their way closer to their objective. "Once we're inside, we stick to the plan. No deviations," said Lieutenant Marcus Green, the mission leader, as he signaled for the team to deploy from the stealth drones. The atmosphere inside the ship was oppressive, and the walls seemed to pulse with the hum of alien machinery. They were inside, deep within the heart of the Vrika fleet. Each step was a calculated risk. They moved quickly but silently, following the route Dr. Sykes had identified from the schematics. The corridors of the mothership were vast and alien, filled with strange symbols and glowing panels. As they made their way toward the energy core, every second felt like an eternity. Outside, the Vrika were retaliating. Their counterattacks were ruthless. Drone after drone launched, filling the weighing skies with laser fire. Earth's resistance forces were doing their best to hold the line, but they knew the clock was ticking. This was humanity's last chance. Almost there, Dr. Sykes muttered, watching the team's progress from Earth's command center. Sweat beaded on her forehead, but her mind remained focused. Every move the team made had been planned for. This moment, she couldn't let her thoughts waver now. Prepare the signal. On my mark, we'll initiate the device, she instructed, her hands hovering over the controls dot as the team neared the heart of the mothership, the sound of alien footsteps echoed through the corridor. The Vrika had detected something. They were close, but not yet close enough. The team split into two groups, one to secure the hallway and the other to reach the core. As they advanced, they came face to face with an unexpected enemy, a Vrika. Guard, one of the elite protectors of the mothership. It happened in an instant. The guard, with its alien features, strange, glowing eyes and jagged armor, lunged at the team. There was no time to hesitate. LT Green acted swiftly, using a high-frequency pulse to disable the Vrika guard's energy shield. The team moved quickly, but the clock was ticking, and every moment they wasted was another moment the alien forces would have to counter. Move, shouted LT Green as the team pushed forward, reaching the control room that housed the energy core. It was there, huge and intimidating, a complex structure of alien technology that pulsed with unimaginable power. The device they carried, designed by Dr. Sykes and humanity's top engineers, was small but powerful. A single detonation would send an electromagnetic pulse capable of shutting down the entire fleet. The core would no longer be able to power the ship's defenses, leaving them vulnerable. But as the team began to set the device, disaster struck. The door to the control room burst open, and more Vrika soldiers flooded in. The team was pinned down. It was now or never. Activate it, Dr. Sykes commanded, her voice urgent as the team prepared to set off the device. In a split second, the EMP detonated, sending a wave of energy through the mothership. The core shimmered as the pulse spread out, and the entire ship began to shudder violently. The Vrika forces screamed in disbelief as their once indestructible defenses began to fail. For the first time in the battle, the aliens were vulnerable. We've done it, Dr. Sykes breathed in disbelief. It's over. We've won. But as the tremors of the exploding core reverberated throughout the mothership, one thought crossed Dr. Sykes' mind. This was just the beginning. Victory and beyond. The hum of the mothership's disintegrating energy core echoed through the corridors like a warning bell. Earth's final weapon, the EMP device, had successfully disabled the alien fleet, but there was no celebration. The war wasn't over, not yet. As the last of the Vrika's defensive systems faltered, Dr. Emily Sykes stood on the bridge of Earth's command center, her eyes fixed on the holographic display. The once invincible Vrika fleet was crumbling, but with every victory came the cold, harsh reality. Earth had paid a terrible price. Commander Zoreth watched from his flagship as his fleet began to break apart. His ships, once a symbol of unmatched power, were now floating in space, their energy shields gone, their weapons useless. His soldiers, those who had sworn to conquer and control, were now vulnerable, exposed to the human forces they had underestimated. Zoreth's heart raced as he assessed the situation. The humans had done the unthinkable. They had struck a blow so devastating that it threatened the very foundation of Vrika supremacy. His eyes, once cold and calculating, now betrayed the rarest of emotions. Frustration. They were not supposed to fight back this hard. The humans, flawed as they were, had revealed a truth Zoreth wasn't ready to face. They could adapt, they could innovate, and they would never bow down. He looked around at his remaining forces. The Vrika were no longer a mighty empire. They were invaders, and they were losing. The human resistance had done what no one thought possible. They had taken down the very heart of the Vrika fleet. Back on Earth, The final moments of battle were unfolding. Lieutenant Marcus Green, leading the charge with his remaining pilots, had managed to disable the last of the alien drones. But as they circled the dying alien fleet, there was no sense of triumph. Instead, there was only relief tinged with sorrow. Cities were in ruins. Thousands had lost their lives, and humanity's survival came at an incalculable cost. Dr. Sykes, standing at the center of the command room, looked at the screen, now showing a visual of Earth's final defensive perimeter. It wasn't over, not yet. The Vrika were retreating, but Earth was not untouched. She took a deep breath, her fingers trembling as she typed into the system, relaying orders to the remaining human forces. "Hold the perimeter," she said, her voice unwavering. "Prepare for the Vrika's retreat. We may have won this battle, but the war isn't over until we ensure their full withdrawal." But despite her words, a sense of victory began to settle over her. They had fought back against an overwhelming foe, against all the odds. And in that moment, for the first time since the Vrika had arrived, Dr. Sykes allowed herself to feel hope. The human forces began to regroup, organizing the remnants of their fleets, while Earth's leaders worked to restore order and rebuild. Earth had been scarred, both physically and emotionally, but it had proven something far more important than victory. It had proven resilience. As the remaining alien ships began to retreat, Commander Zorath gave one final order to his fleet. "Return to our homeworld. We will lick our wounds. This battle is lost, but the war is far from over." The alien forces began to retreat into the void, their once dominant presence fading into the distance. The humans, battered but unbroken, stood victorious, their planet still intact, their will stronger than ever. The Earth, scarred and shattered, had withstood the Vrika's might, and now it would rebuild. Dr. Sykes, standing alongside General Hargrave and the surviving members of the Global Defense Council, looked at the holographic map once again. The Vrika were retreating, but humanity was far from safe. She knew that this victory, while significant, was only the beginning. There would be more challenges, more threats, but Earth had something the Vrika didn't: a will to fight. As the Kala team gathered around her, Dr. Sykes spoke, her voice strong and resolute. "We may have stopped them today, but the real battle is ahead. The universe is full of unknowns. But if there's one thing we've learned, it's that humanity will always find a way to survive." A sense of unity filled the room. Humanity had been tested, and it had not only survived, but triumphed against an advanced alien civilization that had believed it was invincible. The story of Earth's victory would be written in the stars, but it would be up to the future to ensure that humanity's resolve, their drive, would never falter. The Vrika may have been the first, but they would not be the last. As the final moments of the battle faded into history, one thought remained in the minds of every person on Earth. Humanity was no longer a species to be overlooked.